So, you are probably wondering why you are seeing my face here today. And it has simple explanation, since to appease the YouTube overlords, I decided to diversify my content a little bit. Something like I was doing on the second channel with the ship talks, which by the way might come back to. Not sure about that yet. But today I'm here for a different reason, which is something I was thinking about for quite some time already, but I didn't really have time or strength to do, which is manga reviews, specifically BL, for now at least, and because I don't have that much other mangas yet. So, and since I'm doing what I'm doing on this channel, I think the BL and yaoi theme is quite fitting for this. Since I got into reading manga, I've read a solid share of BLs. I'm not saying that I am some expert, definitely not. I didn't read that much. But I found some gems along the way, and I would like to share them with you because there might be some people who are looking for recommendations and all that stuff. So why not try it? Again, this is slight diversification of the content on this channel, so don't get spooked, it's just a side track. So what I'm going to be doing in these videos, if there's going to be interest in them, is that I'm going to go through the little collection that's behind me and through some of the stuff I've bought online, and maybe give you some tips for good reads. So, without further ado, let's start. And I think it's fitting we are going to start with the first purely BL manga I've ever read, and also one of the two sweetest mangas I've came across. The other is going to come later. Today, it's going to be Our Dining Table from Mitaori. When I tell you this manga had such an impact on me that I started to cook rice differently, yeah, it is what it is. So this is kind of a newer thing. I would say it's pretty well known in the BL community, but I still came across people who don't know it. So, Our Dining Table. It has absolutely stunning art style, and it's one of the first things that actually captivated me on it, which when I saw preview was the art style. The characters are great, even the little kid, which says a lot coming from me because I usually don't like kids portrayed in written media or overall in media because it usually goes two ways. One is that you have a 5-year-old kid that's acting like a 1-year-old and it's just infantilized. Or you have 2-year-old kid that's acting like a 30-year-old adult just shrunk to the size of a 2-year-old child. So I don't really like kids in mangas, books, movies, whatever. But this is an exception because this kid is such a sweetheart and it's actually acting according to his age, so. And overall the characters are incredible, and even in those 6 chapters you get to know them on a pretty deep level, which is surprising, and it's something I found a lot of mangas that have only one volume of those 6 chapters oftentimes struggle with. But I didn't have a feeling of slideshow syndrome from this manga, so that's amazing. So, to the story. We follow our main character, Yutaka, and he's a salaryman, great cook, but also has some very deeply rooted troubles from his past. It actually makes him not necessarily relatable, but there is a certain depth to his character that I sometimes miss in yaois and BLs. So that's awesome. So the synopsis actually is: eating around other people is a struggle for salaryman Yutaka, despite his talent for cooking. All that changes when he meets Minoru and Tane, two brothers many years apart in age, who ask him to teach him how to make his delicious food. It's not long before Yutaka finds himself falling hard for the meals they share together and falling in love. So, from the synopsis, you can actually kinda guess where this story is going to go. Yeah, the main character's main issue is that he struggles eating around other people because of his upbringing, which is something we learn throughout the story. And it's also something I have to pinpoint. It's the backstories in this story are very well sprinkled throughout the storyline and aren't just dumped onto the reader, which is always amazing. Of course, that's not the only thing Yutaka struggles with, and his other big issue is loneliness, which is going to be important later on. It's basically single parenting, even though the two main characters are brothers, not father and a child, even though it kind of looks like it from at the beginning. But yeah, they are brothers. Their relationship is very interesting. I'm not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to spoil it too much, but yeah, their relationship is certainly interesting, but it has its reasons, and they love each other. So it's not like the older is hating on the little one. There are certain nuances to their relationship, and it makes sense later on in the story. And funnily enough, I think this is one of the most original meetings of the couple, or of the main couple, I've seen so far. And the whole thing starts with Tane, the little one, eating Yutaka's lunch. Because since Yutaka has problem eating around people, he usually makes himself onigiri and eats in the park. And he shares his lunch with Tane because he looks hungry. And that's how our couple meets. It's absolutely adorable. And you get quite a good idea of how their relationship between Tane and Minoru looks like. But of course that wouldn't be enough to get them together. So Tane continues his matchmaking to some extent and convinces his brother to ask Yutaka to teach them how to cook, because Minoru and the boy's father are horrible cooks. So they ask Yutaka to help them and teach them something, which leads to a series of incredibly sweet scenes. And just every interaction between Yutaka and Tane is this pure sweetness, and it's so adorable. Like, just watching them interact is so entertaining and so adorable. Like, you will have feeling that you are getting diabetes at certain points. And also the first time Yutaka is teaching them how to cook, it's onigiri, and it's also the reason why I now cook my rice differently. And it works, it actually works. And there is this beautiful scene when, after they are done with the onigiri, they obviously want to eat with Yutaka, but obviously he is afraid because he's scared of eating with other people. And he's trying to explain it to Minoru, but Minoru is just having none of it and just shoves the onigiri into his face. And just Minoru indirectly saying, hey, you don't have to be scared eating around us. It's fine. And yeah, it's such a sweet scene. It's one of the highlights, I would say. And it's actually one of the first steps on Yutaka's journey to overcome his fear. What I find amazing is that Tane is actually a very important part of the whole equation and of their relationship. Like, it's not just that he is there to push up the single parenting and just be there for the sake of being there. He's actually there to be a connecting piece between Yutaka and Minoru, and it works really well. He is this sort of glue that brings Yutaka and Minoru together, and it's really great. On the other hand, he serves as a sort of cockblock for Minoru later on, but yeah, that's just how little kids are, I guess. Then we also get insight into Yutaka's loneliness, which is when Christmas come along and Yutaka gets sick. It hurts. That one part really hurts. Not as much as other parts, but it really like makes you feel for him and how incredibly lonely he is, or how incredibly lonely he feels. It is until Minoru snaps him out of it by racing to his house because he's not picking up his phone. That's the moment when you will be 100% sure that, yeah, they are going to end up together. Even if you didn't know that it's BL, like at that point, you know that's going to happen. And also thanks to that, we later get into the probably most important scene in the whole story, which is where we learn Yutaka's whole backstory and why he is so afraid to eat alone. And he is actually telling it as a story with drawings, and he's telling that to Minoru. And yeah, I teared up reading that. It's really strong. It's such a simple thing, like telling a backstory, but the way it is given to us as readers and the way he is telling it through the drawings is... it hits you. It's a punch in the gut. But of course, we are not done with Yutaka's loneliness yet, because there are still certain things in the back of his head that weren't dealt with. And that's a second time I teared up during reading. And it's a conversation between Yutaka and Minoru and Tane's father, who kind of serves like a comic relief character in the background, but then it hits you with a scene where he is slightly drunk and talking with his wife's photos, and then you get punched in the guts once again when Yutaka asks about how he dealt with the loss of his wife and if there's any way to deal with that. Yeah, that was the second time I cried. I am not ashamed to admit it. You will have to read it for yourself for the full impact, but god damn it. It's a strong scene, it's a really strong scene, and I'm glad the author wasn't shying away from showing that with love can come loss, and that it's okay to not be okay. And even though it's such a short scene, it's like 4 pages, it hurts. It really hurts. Like, there are about 3 places, or 4, let's say, when the sweetness is just cut and it turns into this cutting edge and it hurts. It really hurts. But I must say, it's weighed out pretty well. The sweetness and the angst is approximately on the same level, so it doesn't seem like overly sweet, but it also doesn't seem like too angsty. So, that was our dining table. Highly recommend. It's such an incredible story for how short it is. I oftentimes avoid reading just single volume manga because the short mangas oftentimes suffer from a slideshow syndrome, which I understand. Like, they have to make art for it. Like, it's not easy, but still. But in this case, I was pleasantly surprised, and it didn't feel like it at all, even though there are like time jumps between the chapters. But it doesn't feel like this is one slide, this is other slide, this is other slide. The continuity is there and is very well done. So yeah, very much recommend if you want a short read full of sweetness and family feels. It's family feels, it's sweet, it's sad, it hits you, it soothes you. So there is something for everyone in this story, I guess. Well, that about sums it up. Let me know if this is something you would want to see on the channel. It's not going to necessarily be like every week thing. More like, yeah, okay, I have time to record today and I have strength to actually talk about something, and so I'm going to record a review / summary of a manga. So let me know if you would want to see something like this on the channel. As I said, it's purely for diversification of content, but I think it could be interesting and maybe you will find some gems you didn't know about before. Also, let me know if this is the format you want to see, or if I should talk more about something, talk less about something, if you want it more spoilery, less spoilery. Everything like these technicalities, feel free to tell me in the comments. As soon as I get it on a certain level, the more enjoyable it's going to be for you. So help me out. Thank you for watching. I hope I kinda got you into mood for reading one of the most amazing mangas I've read so far. And hopefully see you next time.